Assalamu alaikum students. Welcome to yet another lecture in CSS English Essay Lecture Series. Our today's lecture is about FPSC examiner's marking scheme. Okay, that is how the examiner goes about marking your scripts. What are his criteria? I mean, we all know that essay, English essay in CSS has a proper structure. But most of the students ignore the fact that since essay has a proper structure, examiner is also marking your scripts with a proper structure in his mind. So today we are going to discuss how the examiner sees our scripts by putting ourselves effectively in the examiner's shoes. So that is what today's lecture is about. Okay, so let's move forward. So as you can see that essay is not just a hodgepodge of 200 to 2000 to 2500 words. Okay, it is a process in which we write about a given topic in a very structured way, and we'll discuss that structure, that it consists of intro, body, and conclusion. And then there is a structure to writing an introductory paragraph, body paragraph, and concluding paragraph. But things to keep in mind during this lecture is that you need to know the structure of an essay. If you are watching this video where if this is one of your first videos, then you don't have to worry, because simply the structure of an essay is intro plus body plus conclusion, and of course before the introductory paragraph we write the outline. So this is the basic structure of the essay. Secondly, the thing you need to keep in mind is that we will be discussing how the examiner goes about evaluating that particular structure of the essay. Answer sheet of the candidate, not from the we won't be today discussing our scripts or our answer sheets from our perspective, but by putting ourselves in the examiner's shoes. Okay, so moving forward, marks distribution of English essay. Now these are just the criteria, okay, which ex FPSC examiners have laid out. Okay, that this is how in English essay the marks distribution it is. As you can see that content has 50 marks, language 20. Okay, that you shouldn't be uh, doing grammatical mistakes, your sentence structure should be good, you shouldn't be you shouldn't be committing spelling mistakes. Then handwriting counts for 50 marks, layout of the essay 50, conclusion 5, introduction 10 marks, outline 5 marks. So students often say that, okay, does the outline have marks? Well, if you look at it that way, from some FPSC examiners, the outline has 5 marks. But I take this from a different perspective. This division of marks, this bifurcation of marks among different parts, different things, I take it from a different angle. Don't just think that if you have loaded up your answer with lots and lots of facts and figures, that is your essay is very rich in content. But if it lacks clarity, I mean, it is not addressing the question of the essay, it's not, if it's not addressing the thesis statement, okay, if you are not being persuasive, and believe me, putting a lot of content won't pass you. Okay, so these should be just taken as guidelines. Okay, that, for example, if even if you have a very clear thought process, you have understood the topic, but if you don't have content, then it's very difficult to write 2500 words. Okay, and hence it is difficult to pass. So that is why the content has most of the marks. Once again, why it has 50 marks, or let's suppose we can talk in terms of weightage, that why it has 50% weightage, because without content, you can't build your arguments properly, and essay is all about argumentation. Okay, so that is why the content is given so much of an importance. Of course, language is given 20% importance, because without it you won't be making it. Similarly, conclusion, intro. But just look at it from a holistic perspective. I mean, if let's suppose you are good at content, okay, and your, well, we can suppose that your handwriting is also good, but overall if your outline is not good, your intro is not good, then probably you won't be making it, believe me, because the first thing which examiner stumbles upon is your outline and intro. And if the examiner thinks, if you're not able to impress the examiner with these two things, he probably might not turn on the next page. So these are basically, should these things should be uh, thought of, these marking guidelines, these marks, in a very interconnected way. Okay, uh, secondly, as you can see that All marks are dependent upon content. If your essay does not have any solid content, you won't be getting any other marks. So the reason I just told you, okay. How the examiner assesses the outline, as you know that the first thing which the examiners come across your answer sheet is the outline, okay. Now the examiner looks at the outline first and foremost, okay. And there are three possible types of outlines. Number one, which are relevant and to the point. What do I mean by this? Examiner, these are those outlines which are addressing the thesis statement, which are talking about thesis statement, the stance which you're taking. All the outline throughout is relevant to the topic. I mean, if you haven't grasped the topic, then you can't write a relevant outline. And if you haven't written a relevant outline, you can't write a relevant essay. So these are the one categories of outlines which the examiner has spelled out, that some students write relevant and to the point, okay. Then these are the second categories of outlines, called twisted, convoluted, and confusing outlines, okay. In simple words, they are irrelevant, okay. So first category was those who write relevant outlines according to as per their thesis statement. Second, who just go off the topic, they don't write what the topic requires. And the third category is of those whose outline examiner just can't understand what they're trying to say because of poor English. And of course, if you don't have good English, if you don't have a certain level of English grip over English language, you can't pass an essay regardless of the point that you have written a relevant point, you have written a relevant thesis statement, you have written a relevant outline. The last two outline producing varieties of candidates are half failed in the examiner's mind when he reaches the end of their outlines. So let's suppose the examiner has started reading your outline and he hasn't understood your outline because your English is very substandard, okay. So definitely he will check the rest of your paper with a negative negative mindset. He will be thinking, okay, this is one of those candidates who belongs to 95% of the candidates, okay. And of course, secondly, if you write an irrelevant outline, that is, it is not addressing the topic, the main question being asked in the essay, then of course, once again, he will check the rest of your paper with a negative mind frame. So this highlights the importance of outline, okay. How important is it to write a relevant outline? So moving on, now as you can see, you can just read it. So you can see the importance of outline, that how it can prove to be a make or break for you. I mean, within the first couple of minutes, either you can convince the examiner that you belong to that 5% of the candidates who can get 40 marks, or examiner will form an opinion about you that, okay, this candidate is probably not from those 5%, but let's read his paper, that either he can convince me or not, okay. So that is what it is. Now, a note: after reading your outline, whether you are half failed already or half passed in the examiner's books, the examiner looks for the thesis statement in your introductory paragraph. As we just discussed that this is what introductory paragraph looks like, and it starts off generally, and it narrows down to the thesis statement. Now, after reading your outline, the examiner reads your introductory paragraph with simple one intent, that what is the candidate's take on the topic. That is, he wants to look for the thesis statement in your introductory paragraph. Okay. Now, on the same note, let's move on. So, excuse me. So, in the thesis statement, the examiner comes across three types of thesis statement. Okay. Once again, those which are relevant, that is, that stick to the main students who stick to the main theme of the essay in their introductory paragraph, which effectively contains the thesis statement. Then there are those who have written irrelevant, that is, they haven't understood the topic properly, they haven't understood the gist of the topic properly. And then once again, the candidates whose thesis statement or introductory paragraph is incomprehensible due to substandard and below par language. Okay. Now, just keep these things in mind, and we will discuss that why this bifurcation, why examiner bifurcates these candidates. Now, remember that at this point the examiner is done with reading both your outline and introductory paragraph. He hasn't read the whole essay yet, but the possibilities of you passing the exam have already been decided to a great extent. How? Let's just move forward. Now we will talk about combination, because examiner has 10,000 scripts approximately, and he won't be wasting too much time on your script if you don't give him anything either in the outline or in the thesis statement. So let's just look at the combinations. Now if your outline is incomprehensible due to poor English, and your thesis statement, which resides in the introductory paragraph, at the end of the introductory paragraph, is also not clear. I mean, if the examiner didn't find anything relevant to the topic, or he couldn't make out that what you're trying to say in the outline, then he will look out for thesis statement in the introductory paragraph, that what the candidate's stance or take is on the topic. And if he couldn't discern that what the candidate is trying to say because of incomprehensible, vague, and substandard English, then that's it. Those such sort of candidates are, you know, the examiner just awards them anything between 0 to 20 and fails them. And believes me, most of the time he won't be reading the rest of the script, because examiner is reading your scripts with a very perusing eye. After reading the outline and your introductory paragraph, examiner knows that where does this candidate stand. Either he will make it or not. So that essentially tells you the importance of outline and thesis statement, that why these two ingredients are very very important. Because if you are able to master these two, if you have done these on the exam day in a very very accommodative way, so to speak, then examiner will at least read your essay. Okay, he will read your full essay with a positive intent. Okay, he will look out that, okay, let's just give this candidate some time. Maybe he has something to give me that I might award him 40 marks. So even if your English is not good, then believe me, you will only be getting something between 0 to 20. Okay, now let's discuss other categories. Now these sort of candidates are those who have good English. Okay, there are often I often come across aspirants whose English is very good. Okay, but they can't make it. They can't make the cut. They fail at, let's suppose, sometimes they fail at 37, sometimes even at 39. Okay, I have seen candidates failing. The sole reason is that despite having good command over English, they write irrelevant outline and irrelevant thesis statement. Within the first 5 minutes, examiner simply is not able to understand what this candidate is trying to say. I mean, what is his or her take on the topic, what is his stance. Believe me, he will just award you anything between 0 to 39. I mean, students often say that, okay, why he could have given me one grace mark, but there is a method to his madness. Okay, he just simply can't understand what's the stance of this candidate, and he will never ever give such candidates 40 marks. Okay, so once again, the importance of writing relevant, the importance of understanding the topic. Don't just jump on a topic immediately. Try to brainstorm, and just this will make you realize that either you can write something relevant on this topic or not. So this also highlights the importance of outline and thesis statement, and the importance of writing relevant outline and thesis statement. Moving on. Okay, this is just the same thing which I have talked about. So these sort of candidates, okay, this is a very interesting combination. These candidates have written relevant outlines. Okay, that is, these sort of candidates have good command over English. Okay, and on top of that, they have written relevant outline. Their outline is also hitting the thesis statement of the topic, the stance which you have taken. Okay, but their thesis statement, which is written at the end of the introductory paragraph, or we can talk about introductory paragraph in general, is irrelevant. Okay, after writing even a good and relevant outline, they just digress in their introductory paragraph. They just are not able to convey to the examiner that what they are going to write in the whole essay. So This highlights the importance of both outline and the thesis statement. I mean, even after writing a good and relevant outline, if you just shake a bit in your introductory paragraph, then all of a sudden you fall in the gray area. Okay, you have a fighting chance. Then throughout your essay you will have to prove to the examiner that you are good enough to make it. Okay, then you are in the, all of a sudden, just because you have written an irrelevant introductory paragraph and irrelevant thesis statement. Just read this. If the thesis statement is irrelevant but the outline is relevant, the examiner gives such candidates a fighting chance. He reads their introductory paragraph, and if it conveys some sense as a whole, he continues. If the essay is coherent and strong till the end, the examiner doesn't find mistakes while turning the pages, these sort of candidates can make through. Okay, once again, can. So why the essay has to be coherent and strong till the end? Because in the introductory paragraph, the examiner didn't find any coherency. Okay, the introductory paragraph didn't convince anything that the examiner can know that how the essay of this candidate will be structured. So if the examiner can't find a structure is in his introductory paragraph, he will look out for that structure in the whole of your essay. And if you can't provide that structure in the whole of your essay, then you won't make it. But if you can, then you might pass. But why leave it to chance? I mean, why not write a relevant outline and relevant thesis statement or introductory paragraph, and just go about writing the essay as per the outline? So that is a safer approach. So practice writing outlines and thesis statements. Now, these sort of candidates who have good command over English, and they write both relevant thesis statements and outlines. They have properly understood the topic, and they have conveyed to the examiner also that they have understood the topic. Okay, these candidates are half past already, within next 5 minutes, because in he has written he had the examiner has read your outline, he has written your introductory paragraph, and he hasn't find any grammatical or sentence structure mistakes in your essay, and you have understood the topic. Now all he will do is he will skim through your essay just to check if you have written the same stuff which their outline and thesis statement indicates. He's just checking that the candidates haven't digressed and gone beyond the scope of the title. Okay, if they haven't done that to an unforgiving extent, then they are passed. Now what does this mean? That let's suppose this is democracy, this is no more vulnerability. Okay, democracy is no more vulnerable. Now you have written an outline and thesis statement which is which falls in this category. Now your outline and thesis statement is hitting the topic. Now all the examiner wants to check is that you have written your whole essay in this category. Okay, don't just write irrelevant here and there, just write the relevant things which you have talked about in the outline, and you will easily make it. Okay, so this once again highlights the importance of writing a good outline and a clear thesis statement. It makes writing the whole essay so much easier. Okay, moving on. So this is another category which the examiner highlights, that some outlines and thesis statements are exceptional, and such sort of candidates score 40 plus. Okay, but these are very rare categories. Okay, most of the people, even those candidates who I have seen the mark sheets over the years, who have even topped the exams or who are in top 10, even they get only 40 marks in the essay. I mean, most of the students don't. Some might get 40 because on the exam day a topic might just come up that they are able to understand the topic, in a very holistic way, and they have a lot of information about that topic too, and they might score above 40. But I would say that, okay, as far as English essay is concerned, you just try to keep it simple and try to achieve 40 marks. That's it. Now, this is the summary of the marking scheme. Once again, if your English is not good, Okay, the examiner finds a lot of grammatical mistakes in both your outline and thesis statement. He won't be reading your whole essay. He won't be wasting his time. He would give you anything between 0 to 20 and fail you. If your English is good, but you have written both irrelevant outline and thesis statement, he won't give you 40 marks. He will give you marks for writing good English. That is why he will give you more than 40 marks. He will give you even 39, but he won't pass you because you have written irrelevant. You haven't understood the topic properly, or even you have understood the topic properly, you aren't able to justify your topic. Okay, if you have written a relevant outline and an irrelevant thesis statement, the examiner will give you a fighting chance. Okay, now this highlights the importance of both outline and thesis statement. Okay, then if you have written both relevant, then you are already half passed in the examiner's books. All the examiner wants to say is that you have written the same stuff which you have mentioned in the outline, and you have gone on to prove the same stance which you have mentioned in the thesis statement. And then there is the last category, which are exceptional. So what lessons do we get? We know that the examiner operates in a very methodical way. So if you want to ace the essay, you also need to be very methodical. Okay, how we can do that? By practice making outlines and writing introductory paragraphs with a clear thesis statement as much as you can before the exam. Now I know that there is a lot of burden on the candidates. I mean, they also have to prepare 11 other subjects, so they can't write an essay every day. But what they can do is write an outline and introductory paragraph, after a couple of days. Okay, one एक दो दिन बाद जिसको हम कहते हैं, लिख लिया करें यार, कुछ नहीं होता। ठीक है, उससे ये होगा कि आपकी ना डिफरेंट टॉपिक्स के बारे में एक ऑलरेडी एक स्केच बन गया होगा। ठीक है, तो एनी टॉपिक कैन शो अप ऑन द एग्जाम, जिसका आपकी ऑलरेडी एक पिक्चर होगी आपके जहन में। तो ये एक बड़ी अच्छी प्रैक्टिस होती है। यू पीपल कैन ऑप्ट इट, but let it get checked by someone. Okay, someone who is an expert in the area. They will highlight mistakes which you are committing, because there are a lot of mistakes which students commit in outline and writing introductory paragraphs. So that is it for today. I hope today's lectures were useful, because we all know that the structure of an essay, but we also need to know how the examiner goes about grading the answer sheets. Examiner doesn't have a lot of time. Okay, all he's looking for in your answer sheet is mistakes. So we need to make sure that at least we don't give him any mistakes, any spelling mistakes, any grammatical mistakes, or write any irrelevant stuff in the outline and in the introductory paragraph, so that the examiner let's give the examiner a chance that he turns the introductory page and moves on to reading our essay. At least that will land us in a safe area. I mean, let the examiner come to this point that at least he reads our scripts. But if you write some vague or irrelevant outline and introductory paragraph, then he won't be turning the next page. Okay, he will just say that, okay, he will be awarding you anything between 0 to 39, but won't award you 40 marks. So the only solution is you practice making outlines, you practice writing introductory paragraphs, and you have time. If you have time, you can write full essays also. Okay, because writing full essays is something which need to be done. But of course, you can't do it on daily basis. But what you can do is you can write outlines and introductory paragraphs. Thank you. Best of luck for the exams. I hope you're all preparing. Allah Hafiz. Meet you in the next lecture.